Testing. Perfect. Hello everybody, it is Thursday night and that means it's time for more DLR Realistic Division, season number 9. We're here in Miami today for what's sure to be a great race. But it's a tricky track, this one. Can definitely be a bit of a killer for drivers who either not a fan of it or just don't like technical tracks in general. But this track is much like Vegas in that you have to run quite a low downforce setup to be competitive in the races, which makes you very vulnerable in the corners and can make the track very unsatisfying to drive. And I think that's what many people's problems are with tracks like Vegas. It's just that they have to run such a low downforce setup, so they have so much less grip than they want in the corners. And this track is not quite as extreme a level, but still along those lines. But it's going to be Gyro who gets the first lap in today. Championship standings, we've got Melvin, the defending champion, in the Red Bull. Well, maybe Gyro won't set the first lap after all. I'm not sure if resetting to track is allowed in DLR, but that's what we just did regardless. Yes, Melvin leads the Drivers' Championship. The defending champion has gotten his season off to a great start with 3 wins from 4. But obviously that one race in Jeddah did not go according to plan for him. But other than that, it's 2 wins in a row at the moment as Gyro goes back into the pits, in fact. So he will not be setting the first lap after all. Looks like it's going to be one of the Mercedes or perhaps the Williams of Jürgen who will be first to set a lap as he comes around the final corner. But yeah, Melvin leads by 20 points from his teammate Heine in the other Red Bull. But Jürgen looks like he's going for another out lap, I think, to warm those tyres up, because that ERS is not going down. So I will ride on board with TNK instead, who is definitely on a lap. So coming through Sector 1, and tough set of corners coming up. You've got to really commit through this left, then the right, and then this long, long left that just seems to never end. And then finally you can turn into the apex and get on the power, and that was very well done from TNK. DRS is going to be open down this straight in a couple of seconds. There it is. And all the way down to the 90-degree left-hander. You're going to see a lot of overtakes coming into this corner today. And TNK brakes hard for the corner, hits the apex nicely, and then gets nicely on the inside for the next right-hander as well. And then this horrible slow section in the last part of Sector 2. Really, really nasty to drive, that is. But TNK navigating it fairly well down towards the final sector. He goes in the Mercedes. Just a couple of corners to go in his lap. DRS open all the way down to the hairpin at the end. Again, we'll see a lot of overtakes down towards this corner today, and also down towards turn 1. I am very sure of that. But TNK all the way to the line now. Doesn't hug the inside as much as I've seen drivers do in my past to commentating, but TNK at 27.8 is the initial pace. If Jürgen a long way behind, not deploying any ERS. I don't know if that was an error on his part or not, but Hellfire, look at this, who's just moved to AlphaTauri, but Melvin, there we go, the defending champ goes on to pole position by 0.7 of a second from TNK, not even close there, but Hellfire, the Ferrari driver from last season, who won the Constructors' Championship with his teammate was it JB? I can't remember. It might have been JP, JB, one of the two. I know it started with J, but yeah, they won the Constructors last season in very close fashion against Red Bull. It looks like no one's going to challenge Red Bull for the Constructors this season, but especially with Hellfire moving to AlphaTauri to give himself a bit more of a challenge, in his words. So that, yeah, JB. But yeah, he just wants to have some good racing in the midfield, rather than having the pressure of fighting, having to try and fight the Red Bulls at the front. But he does want that Red Bull seat in the not too distant future, I would have thought, and that's why he's moved in particular to AlphaTauri. But he's currently sitting in P3 ahead of Giuseppe Alsac in the other Mercedes. From TNK. Fristfruit's gone up to 6th, Ricardo in 7th, and Jürgen remains 8th after his ERS-less lap. Still not sure why he did that, but we've got MF Boom coming round to the line, goes P4. That's a great effort from the McLaren driver. Well ahead of his teammate Fristfruit at this early stage. Flop goes into P10 in the Haas in the meantime. We've also got the Alfa Romeo of Deadshot coming to the line. Last couple corners for him. ERS deployed, DRS open to the line, and it's P8 for now for him with a 29.8. Bumdy's going to be next across the line, but he's all the way in Sector 1, so no one really on a lap. We're on the sort of the end of the first cycle of lap times. A lot of people have not come out for a lap yet, including both Ferraris and Mr. Chris in the Alpine, as well as the second Red Bull of Heine. None of them have come out to set a lap yet, which is very interesting. Would have thought they would have come out and gotten a banker in, but all of them staying in, obviously wanting to, perhaps wanting to save a set of the soft tyres for later. But I've just seen Mr. Chris has come out for his outlap, so the championship contender. He's 36 points behind Melvin at the moment. He missed last week's race as well, which didn't help his cause, but the Red Bulls already a huge distance ahead of the field in the Constructors' standings. I don't think we're going to have a close, nail-biting Constructors' battle as we did last season between 3 teams. It was fantastic. But Bumdy to the line in the Haas goes P9, well ahead of his teammate, and just behind Deadshot in the Alfa Romeo. Not too bad an effort from him. We've got Gyro, who's spun it in Sector 1. I think that's his second spin of the day. The first was on an outlap, so not the most ideal start to this qualifying session for okay, and right. Oh no, he's tried. I tell you what he's tried to do. He's tried to just do a drift and spin the car around, so that he doesn't have to do a 3-point turn, and he's just face planted straight into the wall and is out of this session. So he will be starting from the back of the grid. Hotline Blang has also retired from the session. That's in the pit lane though, and he's left the session as well. I also feel bad laughing. You're not the only one, but I don't hold back my laughter when something funny happens when I'm commentating. No matter no matter if it's unfortunate for a driver, unless it's like right at the end and it's for a championship. But even then, can still be funny. I'm still gonna laugh. I laugh at when I crash. When I'm racing, I just laugh as well, so it's just my natural reaction, I suppose. Hello to Melvin, the defending champ, and to, I'm going to completely butcher that name if I try and pronounce it, but welcome to RS, that's what I'm going to refer to you as. Jürgen, 2.5 tenths up in Sector 1, though. Is actually using ERS this time, so it's no wonder that he's up on his time. Flop improves in the Haas in the meantime, up to P10. But Jürgen, the two Williams going very, very well at the moment this season. Both of them punching well above their weight at this point. Jürgen coming to the end of Sector 2 now. What's it going to be for the Williams driver, who I think deserves some better luck this season? Well, from the races that I've watched him be in anyway, he's always had good pace. And Hugo, again, proves my point. Williams doing so well, and Hugo up to P6 while we've been watching his teammate. But Jürgen was 5.5 tenths up in Sector 2, and he's actually using ERS this time. Down towards the last couple corners, and Jürgen is going to set a 1:29.0 to go just a few tenths behind his teammate. And it's P7 and 8 for the Williams, who are once again impressing in those cars and trying to get themselves into some high-profile seats, perhaps, in the near future or next season. Who knows? Giuseppe Helsack in the Mercedes, also starting a lap, as well as Mr. Chris, who's gone to P2 while we were watching the Williams. So 4 tenths, though, behind Melvin. It's a very long way behind, and this could be a story of domination for Melvin, especially if his nearest rivals are going to spin off into walls and break their front wing like TNK seems to have done. Rick is telling me to just say Reeks or Rikus. I'll go with Rikus if they come back. But yeah, TNK will have to limp back to the pits. Hellfire back out for an outlap, but this just shows why Hellfire was one of the standout performers last season. He's in an AlphaTauri now. He was in a Ferrari last season, had a real shot at the championship, got some terrible luck towards the end of the season. But here he is in P4 on merit in an AlphaTauri. Good luck all from Rikus. Yes, I echo that sentiment. Melvin in Sector 1 at the moment. What's it going to be across the sector line? He's 2 tenths up in Sector 1. I mean, can anyone stop this man in this car? It's becoming eerily similar to the real life season at the moment. But Melvin through Sector 2 he goes. Is anyone else on a lap? There's a Ferrari of Bartia coming to the end of his first effort, and it's a 28.2 to put in P4. Not a bad one at all from Bartia. Got his first podium of the season last week. With a very good drive, got him my personal driver of the day. Deadshot goes up to P6 in the Alfa Romeo. Great effort from him. The track is improving, it looks like, but so are the drivers. Steph down towards the line in the other Ferrari, quite a way off, down in P11. But look at that. The gap is significantly smaller in the midfield than it is between the top drivers in this session at the moment. Let's check in on Melvin. He's coming back to the pits, so it won't be an improvement for him on this effort. He'll have to try again, but he still has a 4 tenths of a second buffer to Mr. Chris at the moment. And his teammate hasn't even set a lap yet. Heine did come out of the pits at one stage, but went straight back in afterwards. So I wonder what is going through the mind of the current P2 slot in the Drivers' Championship. Hellfire on a lap in the AlphaTauri as well. I didn't see if he was improving. Heine has a quali ban. That makes a lot more sense. There we go. I'm assuming that's for the contact before turn 1 last week. Yeah, I didn't check stewards, admittedly. I did not see what had happened there before I started commentating this one. But yeah, so Heine will be starting from the back of the grid, so leaving Melvin pretty much unchallenged at the front at the moment. Hellfire 1.5 tenths up on his previous best, looking to beat the Ferrari of Bartia into P4, his old team, and it would be quite ironic if in an AlphaTauri he beat both drivers of his old Ferrari team from last season. Coming through the final corner he goes. Down towards the line goes the Japanese driver, and it's going to be a 27.9, and he does go ahead of Bartia and only a 10.5 behind TNK. And well, very, very impressive stuff from Hellfire. But we've come to expect these kinds of performances from him after last season. It's good to see him back on the track, even if it is in a different car. MCL on the track as well, hasn't set a lap yet. Someone's crashed. Is that a Williams that's crashed before the hairpin? I'm not sure how they've managed that. That's Jürgen, by the looks of it, has crashed before the hairpin on the straight in Sector 3. I have no idea how he's managed that. But MCL coming through Sector 1. Louis is shocked that Bartia and Steph are in the Ferrari. Well, I have no context on them as drivers other than what I've seen. So I don't really follow the other two tiers, the equal performance tiers in DLR, I will admit. But MCL coming through Sector 2, a bit of a twitch there on the exit of that corner for the Alpine driver, and now down towards the end of the sector, that looked very scrappy through that slow section and on the exit there as well. 103.7 through Sector 2. I think this is going to be way off what he's going to want. Louis remembers them getting a season ban. Okay, right. Now, that contextualizes things for me. MCL through the final corner in the Alpine is not going to be anywhere near his teammate, I don't think, but down towards the line, 27, 28, 29, oh dear, 29.6 from MCL. A very, very scrappy lap that's only good enough for P15, and he doesn't even have time to come back into the pits and do another one. So that's where he's likely going to stay, unless he can improve on that with no ERS left, which is what he's going to try to do, but he's going to need to absolutely nail it, and even then he's going to lose so much time on the final straight before the hairpin. So he's going to have quite a bad time in that Alpine. I think he's only up by half a tenth even then, so he's going to have to improve a huge amount in these slow corners that are coming up. We've got all of the top drivers on outlap, so we'll cut to them soon, but I just want to see what MCL can do coming to the end of Sector 2. Whether he's going to be able to improve, because it was so scrappy that last lap through this section. Again, he gets a bit of oversteer on the exit of the same corner, and now through here again it's scrappy and again loses the rear. MCL really not enjoying this track, again loses the rear on the exit, and that is lap over, and that is qualifying over for the Alpine driver. He is going to be at best P15. Not ideal at all. The two Haas drivers on outlaps as well. See if they can beat him. Obviously Heine won't and Gyro won't, so the worst he can be is 17th, but even so, that is not where he would have wanted to be. TNK on a lap at the moment, 1.5 tenths up in Sector 1. Melvin as well on a lap. Mr. Chris just starting a lap as well in Sector 1, so we'll keep an eye on all three of them, as Hellfire is also on an outlap, as well as the Ferrari of Bartia. So we'll keep an eye on all of them as they go through. TNK in Sector 2, though, in the Mercedes. See what he can do. Is Melvin up? He's 2 tenths up in Sector 1. What about Mr. Chris? We'll have a look in a second, because TNK is coming to the end of Sector 2, and it's 3.5 tenths up for him, so he could beat Mr. Chris to the front row if the Alpine driver can't improve, but he is improving by 2 tenths in Sector 1. It's going to be close here. TNK coming down towards the hairpin. He's got to nail this and hit the apex if he wants any chance of the front row. He does hit the apex. and gets a decent exit as well. Can be tough to get the power down out the hairpin there, but he's gotten to the line, and it's 4/10 Farsi. He has beaten Mr. Chris, so Mr. Chris has some pressure, and the pressure's too much. He's invalidated his lap, so he will be P3 at best. TNK onto the front row. Brilliant effort from the Mercedes driver, but the defending champion is going to extend that already incredible gap even further. It's a 26.8, and that is definitely pole position for Melvin. Barcia coming through only a thousandth of a second up in Sector 2, going down towards the hairpin now. Hellfire didn't get to the line in time to start a lap, so he will be P4 at best. Can Bartia beat him to it? He's going to need a perfect final sector, but the final sector is just one corner basically, and he's coming to the pits, so no improvement at him. What about the two McLarens? Could they spring a surprise? Frisk Fruit and MF Boom very close to each other on track. We'll see what they can do. Hugo up to P6 as well in the Williams. Brilliant effort from him. MF Boom through the final hairpin. Frisk Fruit just behind him. Hits the apex a lot better. Doesn't go over the curb like his teammate. MF Boom to the line. It's a 28.5. Only an improvement by 3 thousandths of a second. Frisk improves by a tenth and goes to P6. That's really good from the McLaren driver, considering how much he was struggling in the AlphaTauri last season. He's going to be very happy with the drive he's got, and he will be P6 in this quali session that has finally come to a close. So it's Melvin on pole position once again in this season in the Red Bull, half a second faster than TNK in the Mercedes, who's got himself a very handy front row. Mr. Chris in P3 with Hellfire in 4th place in the AlphaTauri, beating both Ferraris. And, well, really staking his claim on that Red Bull seat. I tell you what, I'd love to see Melvin and Hellfire in the Red Bulls. That would be fantastic. Bartia in P5 with Frisk Fruit as countryman in P6. Hugo in P7 in the Williams, great effort. Deadshot, MF Boom, and Giuseppe Alsac make up the rest of the top 10, with Steph, Jurgen, Ricardo, Hotline Blang, MCL, Bumdy, and Flop the last to set times, with Gyro DNFing after trying to get back facing the right way. And Heine with a quali ban will be starting from the back, so one to watch for this race. So podium predictions in the chat if you want to. Mine is going to be, can't see anyone but Melvin winning this race. I will go with, I think, Melvin, Mr. Chris, and Heine will be the top 3. I think Heine will get all the way back onto the podium. He's been on top form this season. He's had a podium in every race. The only driver this season to have a podium in every race so far, all 4 podiums. But lost his win last week, unfortunately, due to a penalty for a collision at the start. But here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And we're underway for the Miami Grand Prix. It's a good start from TNK from P2, but is it enough to get down the inside at turn 1? No, it's not. There's a 4 wide further back, and someone's round. That's a Ferrari of Bartia. Terrible start for him. He got completely sandwiched. There's a Mercedes as well. Giuseppe Alsac is sideways on the exit of turn 2. Jurgen's retired from the session already. There's a safety car before the end of sector 1, and well, I think there was a collision pretty much every single corner until that safety car came out, so no wonder it did. But it's a great start from Melvin, TNK, and Mr. Chris, and Hellfire retains P4 as well. Let's have a quick look at the position changes. So all of the top 4 retaining position, as well as Frisk Fruit just somehow weaving his way through the carnage. Deadshot though up 3 spots to P5, Steph up 4, MCL, Bumdy, Flop all up 7. Heine already in P11. He started in 19th place. He has really profited profited? What am I talking about? He has really profited from all of those collisions at the start. He's up 8 spots and looking to fulfill my prediction for the podium. Ricardo and Hotline Blang both up 1 and Gyro up 4 as well, basically just overtaking all the people who crashed. But the safety car is going to allow those who did crash to just reset themselves and get themselves back in this race. So Barcia, MF Boom, Giselle and Hugo. But again, the luck for the Williams is just not with them this season. They've had such pace. They've been really, really impressive. But Jürgen crashing out early on. We've got a 5-second penalty for Gyro for colliding with Blang under the safety car. I don't know how he's managed that. A lot of drivers into the pits, unsurprisingly. A few, no doubt, for a wing change. Hugo right to the back as well. TNK and Mr. Chris swapping places further up the field. I wonder if that's going to cause a glitch. It might well do. We had 17 people watching for a brief moment. I'm not quite sure how, because it's gone back down to 7 now, which is where I expect it to be. But welcome all. It is Melvin leading the way, though, in the Red Bull, as you'd expect. Heine pitted for fresh tyres, I believe. Let's get tyres on the screen. Yeah, Heine pitted for a set of the medium tyres. And he's now P12, but still, what a start from the Red Bull driver. Really profited and didn't lose sight, didn't get impatient and get caught up in the carnage. And that's always a very impressive thing to be able to do. And he's first, in fact, of the drivers who've pitted. He is P1. But is he going to get those mediums to the end? 28 laps. Not sure about that one, but we'll see. There will almost certainly be another safety car in this race. It is a realistic tier, and we've already seen plenty of people spin out in quali, and plenty of collisions on the first lap. So we'll see if there's more to come. But Heine will certainly hope so. So everyone just dawdling around under the safety car now. It'll be out for one more lap. It should come in at the end of lap 3, I would have thought. Chris, Melvin and Hellfire in that order, says Louis. Wow, predicting Chris to win the race. Despite Melvin's pace in quali, it's a brave pick. I commend you for it. We'll see if it comes true. If it does come true, I think you'll be the master prophet of today. And Hellfire on the podium as well, in the AlphaTauri. That would be a sight to behold. As he's doing a very, very good job at the moment. Let's see, can we... haven't we done a helmet review? I don't think I've done Deadshot, but he gets a 0 for the default helmet. Steph has the Max Verstappen helmet, so he gets 1, not because it's the Max Verstappen helmet, but because it's not customizable. It's not the default, so it's not 0, but it can only be 1 if it's not customizable. Bumdy, that's quite nice. Sort of, I'm not sure if that's black or a very dark blue. It looks, I think it's a very dark blue is the main color, with the red markings and white as well. That's good, I like that. That's let's see, 7.5 for that, I think. Flop all red with some light blue, but I do believe that is just one of the default helmets. I don't think it's not the default, but I don't think he's customized it, so that's a 1. But we'll get to more people if there's another safety car later on. I don't know who I haven't reviewed yet even. I think I've pretty much reviewed everyone on this grid now, but Melvin will lead us off from the front of the grid in the Red Bull. He can decide when to punch it as soon as the safety car comes into the pits, which it has done now. Is he going to go out of the hairpin? Yes, he is. No surprises from Melvin, straight out of the hairpin, and he's gotten away. TNK has stayed with him just about, but nowhere near close enough to go for a lunge into turn one, as Hellfire under pressure from Deadshot, who's right behind, and nearly hits the back of the AlphaTauri driver into turn one. Doesn't quite make the contact though. And it looks like everyone's gotten through the first sector a lot more smoothly on this lap compared to lap one. But MF Boom putting pressure on Barcia, and then Heine going through round the outside, taking advantage. Brilliant move from the Red Bull driver as he continues his push up the field, down the inside of the Ferrari now, but he's got a poor line on the exit as a result and loses out. And now could be under pressure again from MF Boom in the McLaren, who's on the soft tyres. Here comes MF Boom. He's going to have the inside line down towards the corner, but it's going to be the outside line for the right-hander afterwards. Can he make it work? That's going to be side by side into the corner. Heine's going to hold the inside line for the next corner, and he should be able to keep that place, and does keep P11. Deadshot already with a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. That is not 3 track limits warnings, that is a corner cutting penalty, so that is 1 incident. I didn't quite see what happened, but I assume he must have cut one of the corners in the slow section, or perhaps it was just a glitch and the game gave it to him unfairly. That can also happen, but it doesn't matter because he's sending it down the inside of Hellfire for P4 and makes the move stick. Melvin sets the fastest lap at the front, but Hellfire is going to come back at him down the inside for turn one. Can he make this stick? He breaks late and gives Deadshot a bit of his own medicine there, because I think there was a bit of aggressive driving from the Alfa Romeo driver into the hairpin, and Hellfire just not giving the most respect to him on the exit of turn one, but it's all fair, all hard racing between these two at the moment. As Hellfire coming through sector one, still leading this long pack of cars. He does not have the pace to keep up with the top 3 as you would expect, but he's leading this pack at the moment, and Heine making more progress up to P9 now, but a 1.6 second gap to Bundy, which he's got to close down to make sure he has the DRS when it enables next lap, but Flop's not going to let him go that easily. He's using the ERS to go down the inside, and he's going to have the inside line, around the outside, sorry, inside line for the next corner, and it's going to be the place, and Bartia trying to get in on the action as well. Heine looking to the inside of the slow section, can't quite make it work, but surely we'll get him back down towards the hairpin. He's got still about 40% ERS left, which is actually less than I thought he would have at this stage. But here he goes. The straight line speed of that Red Bull is very, very strong, as we know. But Fristfruit getting past Deadshot further up. Here comes Heine. Can he make the move? No, he can't actually. No straight line speed to speak of for the Red Bull driver, as Fristfruit and Deadshot still side by side going down towards turn one. Deadshot has to tuck him behind, but sends it down the inside in the braking zone. Friss has to leave him room, and he makes the place up, and this is just giving Hellfire a 1.2 second gap, which he'll be very, very grateful for. His DRS very, very powerful on this track, as Heine will soon find out if he can catch up to Bundy. He's gotten back past Flop again and should be able to keep that place now, but look how much ERS he's lost in the process, and he's going to have to really rely on the straight line speed of that Red Bull. He is going to get the DRS on Bundy, so that's some consolation, but it's 3 seconds up the road to the next car for him. But Steph and Fristfruit are still battling, as well as Deadshot. It's going to be 3 wide, I think, down towards the next corner. Not quite, it's just 1 by 2, but Deadshot sending it down the inside very late on the brakes, nearly hits Steph as they hit the apex, but just about stays, avoids the contact. And that's another 3 second time penalty for Deadshot. This time it is 4 track limits warnings, gets a lot of oversteer on the exit, and can't stay with the Ferrari driver, who's now in striking range of Hellfire. I think that's going to be difficult for Hellfire to defend in Sector 2. Down to the hairpin they go. Hellfire remaining in front, but I think resistance is futile against the Ferrari for the Japanese driver at the moment, especially since he's on the hard tyres, as Heine already making more progress. He's up to P8, 2 seconds to Frisk Fruit. He is absolutely flying right now, is the Greek driver. Bumdy now getting past Bartia, but only temporarily, as the Ferrari retakes the place on the exit. MCL and Flop also battling. Flop just trying not to lose too many positions. He wants to finish in the points. Haas have not had a good season so far compared to their just steady trickle of points that they had last season. But Flop, I think, is not going to be able to hold this. MCL is on the hard tyres, but in the much superior car, although Flop's now going to have the DRS. Hotline Blanks retired in the pit lane, and there we go. Steph getting past Hellfire as predicted, down towards the left-hander at the end of the DRS straight. But Hellfire should have DRS again down towards the hairpin, so this battle might not be over quite yet, but we'll see if Steph can open up that gap later on. At the moment, Hellfire not looking like he's going to just roll over and lie down and let the Ferrari by, but TNK is overtaken in the meantime by Mr. Chris, who goes up to P2 in this race, 2.5 seconds behind Melvin, who is checking out of this one at the moment. Hellfire does get back past Steph in the meantime, and he is, I mean, he's on the hard tyres. He's not got the pace of the top three, that much is clear. But I think he's definitely got the pace for P4 here, unless Steph can send one to the inside. You saw Hellfire's front wing there is not leaving him a lot of space there, but it was enough to be fair. But Hellfire really getting his elbows out here in this AlphaTauri. I bet he's really enjoying himself in that car, fighting amongst the midfield. But even then, even in the AlphaTauri, he's still P4. We've got a VSC for something. I think that's Hugo going round in the Williams. Yeah, he's got no front wing. So we've got a VSC for the debris that he's caused. And yet again, this is just not turning out well for Williams after such a promising start. And they need to really get it together in the races for the coming weeks, because at the moment it's not going according to plan for them. Heine has already caught within the DRS range of Frisk Fruit in the meantime. He's going to be looking to make that overtake as soon as possible. He's already saved up, back up to 40% ERS or so. Frisk Fruit just over 50. Deadshot gets more oversteer in that corner, even under the VSC. He's not having a good time in that Alfa Romeo at the moment. But Heine will be looking to make these moves and get himself back into P4. That's got to be the goal for him at the moment, because the top three are so far ahead. He's got another 4 cars to pass until he can enjoy that clean air after starting from the back of the grid. And MCL's bad day goes from bad to worse. MF Boom gets a 5-second penalty for speeding as well, but MCL with a drive-through, which he's going to serve right now. He goes all the way through the pit lane to serve the penalty, but yeah, not been a good day so far for MCL. Very poor qualifying by his standards, and now a drive-through under the VSC as well. But here comes TNK. This battle for P2 is going to rage on as the Mercedes right behind the Alpine still. He's going to have the DRS down towards the hairpin. Is he going to make the move? I'm not sure. We're about already a third of the way through this race as Heine making more progress, up to P7 now with the DRS. And he's got 2 cars battling furiously just ahead of him, which you would have thought he would be able to pass pretty quickly, but when you've got 2 cars battling, they can take up a lot of the track sometimes, as TNK does make that move on Mr. Chris further up. But we've got to watch Heine here. Is he going to be able to make more progress at the field down towards the hairpin? Deadshot has been very aggressive so far today. Is he going to keep that up and against the Red Bull? Yes, he is! He sends it down the inside of the Ferrari, even though he had Heine on his inside. Heine will be fuming with that, but he's not able to gain any positions as a result. And now Steph and Deadshot still fighting ahead of him. Heine's going to make make it 3 wide round the outside. Surely not going to go well. Deadshot goes straight into Mexico with that move. But he's still just about ahead of them. Steph and Heine still side by side as they go through. Heine having to work harder than he's worked for any previous overtakes so far this race, but he's made it into P6, and surely Deadshot is not long for P5 as the Red Bull's going to have DRS down towards the next corner, although he does get a bit of a snap on the exit there that he wouldn't have wanted. But a Red Bull with DRS is often formidable, and the Alfa Romeo driver is about to find that out. Here comes Heine, takes the preferred outside line because he'll have the inside for the next corner even if Deadshot sends it, which he does, but just about avoids contact this time as Heine now through Sector 2 into P5 and should be able to stay there and now catch up to Hellfire, who's 2.5 seconds up the road. Unless Deadshot gets a good exit here, which he doesn't get too bad an exit. I do apologise for the dogs in the background. They will be barking for a little while, I think. Deadshot about half a second behind, but the straight line speed of the Red Bull far too much for him to deal with. And Heine has officially secured that P5 for now, and 2.3 to Hellfire. That's going to come down very, very quickly, I would have thought. Mr. Chris and TNK still fighting. Melvin 5 seconds up the road. He is gone in this one. Barcia making up a place due to Frissfruit pitting early on for a set of the mediums, and that's why it's a front wing change for the McLaren driver. He wouldn't have wanted to pit this early onto the mediums, but he's been given no choice. And he'll exit just behind his teammate, who's having an equally poor race after having to pit, presumably also for front wing damage, as he's on the mediums for the last 2 laps as well. Didn't quite catch that one when he pitted. But Heine now chasing after Hellfire, 4 tenths already gained. He's already as well 1.5 ahead of Deadshot, who's now under pressure from Steph once again, the Ferrari driver getting up to P6. But Deadshot braking far, far too late, but somehow manages to get it stopped. Steph stays on the outside, but I think Deadshot is going to find himself in the stewards quite a few times this race. He is being very, very aggressive out there on many drivers, and just braking very, very late for certain corners. But Steph, again, he's going to have the DRS down towards the hairpin, so he might be able to make this move again, but he's going to be very wary. Now he knows what Deadshot is capable of, as he's well ahead before the braking zone, but that doesn't mean anything when you've got this Alfa Romeo behind you. And Deadshot, in fact, pushing him through the hairpin practically, but doesn't send it on this occasion, and has to stay behind. But he's going to have DRS down towards turn 1. Is he going to absolutely launch it into turn 1? He does brake very late again, gets it stopped, but doesn't send it into the first corner. Maybe he will send it into the after the next DRS zone, though, if he can stay with the Ferrari, but that's going to be the issue for him. Staying with him through the corners, and as he goes very wide on 2 corners in a row, he is out of DRS range even. He was only 4 tenths behind. He's lost 6 tenths due to that. He's just about stayed in at the detection point, but not close enough to make a move into the next corner, as Mr. Chris approaches back to the rear of TNK. And Heine makes another move up to P4 in the Red Bull. Nothing Hellfire can do, really. Not going to battle against a Red Bull that's coming from the back of the grid. Steph in P6, Deadshot in P7. At the moment, not able to make that move, but he is going to have DRS down towards the hairpin here. But no, I mean, look at that car, far too far ahead, and I think this is where Deadshot's attempt for P6 is going to end. 8 tenths back, and no lunge this time for the Alfa Romeo. Mr. Chris just behind TNK still, those two locked together, and Hellfire sticking with Heine for now. It's very, very impressive, but again, you know, we come to expect this from the man that brought Ferrari a Constructors' Championship last season along with his teammate JB. As we've got another battle further down for the last points-paying position, in fact. Flop currently occupies P10, but Ricciardo in the Aston Martin is right behind him, and Gyro not too far back as well, but seems to have lost time in this first sector so far. But can Ricciardo make a move in the DRS zone, I wonder? Gets very wide entry to the left-hander to try and get a better exit, but Flop gets an even better line and gains a few tenths as a result instead of the other way round. And instead, Ricciardo's brought himself under pressure from Gyro. The AlphaTauri driver sends it to the inside. Can't quite make the move, but does on the exit, but it's going to be inside line for the Aston Martin. They're still side by side through. Is Gyro going to back out? Yes, he is, before the slow section. And in the meantime, Mr. Chris and TNK have swapped places again, and again as Mr. Chris pits on lap 13 of 29, at the end of lap 13, I should say. And it's going to be the hard tyres for him to the end of this race. And now Heine is on the podium in Miami. And another safety car would bring him right back into contention for another Red Bull 1-2. But Ricciardo very wide out that corner. It doesn't matter. Gyro is pitting for fresh tyres, as are a few others. Deadshot and Steph both coming in as well from the midfield. And things spread out a little bit as a result. Ricciardo still staying with this Haas, but is for a net points-paying position as it stands. Steph and Deadshot come out in P11 and 12 respectively. Steph right behind MF Boom when he comes out the pit, so he's got to make an overtake here if he wants to get some clean air, but he's not going to be happy with this position. He would have wanted to be in clean air anyway, but to see this McLaren in front of him, he won't be too pleased. Mr. Chris, meanwhile, has come out 5 seconds behind Hellfire, as Steph is going to send it to the inside of MF Boom with the straight line speed of the Ferrari, with the DRS as well, and he's going to make that move stick. And Deadshot and Fristfruit fighting further back. Fristfruit going very far to the outside, just about squeezing out Deadshot there, who sends it on the brakes into the next corner. It makes contact with the McLaren as a result, but no spins for either driver at this stage. Melvin and TNK both into the pit, so Heine is going to lead this race, at least momentarily, but his teammate comes out the pits ahead of him anyway, and that's got to be demoralizing for Heine, but he did start the back and he's put in a fantastic performance so far. It's so easy. It's easy to say that, oh, he's in a Red Bull, he should be up there anyway, but it's so easy to get caught up in those battles and not have the patience to deal with those drivers in the lower performing cars quickly and efficiently, but Heine's done exactly that, and Hellfire as well, driving very well. Still only 2 seconds between him and the other Red Bull, but I would expect Heine to come in fairly soon. He already came in on lap 1 for those medium tyres to give him a better chance at carving through the field the way he did, but he's surely not going to be able to take them to the end, and we'll have to pit for a fresh set, assumedly of the mediums. I'm not sure what tyres he started on, I might have to check that, but Fristfruit going all the way. What is he? Whoa, 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 okay. We've got a safety car to the shock of no one. Fristfruit has been the victim of a very unfortunate bug. I think he's going to have to retire from the session. He is going interstellar, says Louis in the chat. Well, that's a first. I've seen it on social media. I've seen this glitch on social media a few times over the last, I don't know, decade where I've followed the F1 games. But I've never seen it in a league race, so that is in person. So that's the first time I've ever seen that in a league race. Oh, that's great. I believe I can fly in the chat. Oh, that's brilliant. Well, Melvin leads the race now, but it is now as a result of that safety car caused by the bug. It's a Red Bull 1-2 once again. Hellfire is on the podium. Mr. Chris and TNK have been royally screwed over by the timing of that safety car, as they've lost 2 net positions each as a result. Because they had to pit again for fresh mediums. But look at this. Melvin has had to go onto the hards because he already started on the medium tyres. And he went on the hards before the safety car came out, and he's had to stay on them. Because if he pits now, he's just going to end up all the way down in the midfield, and that's not where he wants to be. And he's going to have to do what Heine had to do. So he's not in an advantageous position here, Melvin. It's really caught him out, this safety car. Very unlucky for the defending champ and the championship leader. But that's the way it can go sometimes. And now he's got to defend from 4 very quick drivers. Hellfire maybe not so much of a threat in the AlphaTauri, but who knows? You know what magic he can do on his day. From his Ferrari days. But Melvin has come in, he's gone for the risk. He doesn't fancy defending against all those fresh medium tyres on the hards. He's going to go to the fresh mediums, but he's going to end up down all the way in P11 here, I think. Flops just coming down the final straight now. Look to the right hand side of your screen. I can see on the mini-map, Melvin just about coming out the pits now. Where's the Red Bull driver? There he is, he's behind the Haas. He's down in 11th place, and it's an absolute disaster. I think he would have been better off just staying out on the hards and trying to defend. But he's gone for the mediums. He was not keen on having to defend against his teammate and all the other drivers. And this could be a huge, huge problem for the championship leader. I wonder if he'll live to regret this strategy decision. He made as well last week in, it was Imola, I think. Last week he made a poor strategy decision at the end as well. He went onto the softs for the fastest lap at the end, thinking he had enough time in hand to do it and get back all the way to the front. But he didn't. And he got back to P2, but it was Heine who won the race. And the only reason Melvin won was because of the post-race penalty to his teammate. So this could be Heine's shot at winning the Miami Grand Prix from 19th on the grid after a quali ban. What a performance it would be. But there's still a long way to go, and he's got to defend against the likes of Mr. Chris and TNK, who are no slouches. He's got 13 laps, and he's got the buffer of Hellfire between them as well. He's in a fantastic position, I have to say. Wheel broke loose. Oh no, Fristfruit. But please tell me that this is what's on your screen as well. Look at the mini-map. Look in the bottom right. Your arrow just spinning around. Yeah, you're still in the clouds. I think that's where you're going to remain. Friss, if you're in the session, it might be worth retiring. Oh, because of the crash, your game broke. Oh, wow. Okay, well, you went into the sky, if you weren't aware. It's all out, and now you're spinning all the way back near to the track. This might actually break the whole race, because this might just cause endless safety cars. Go back on the stream for us. It would have been maybe a couple of minutes ago. You basically just flew into the air. It was great. But look, he's spinning all the way back. And what would be really funny now is if you spin all the way like into the middle of the screen. And I've just got your spinning arrow in the middle of my screen the whole rest of the stream. That would be really funny. The dynamic view has given up. Dead shot broke your wheel, I break the game. Yeah, I figured a lot of drivers are not going to be happy with dead shot in the stewards room after this one, and seemingly you are one of them. But lap 18 of 29, it's going to be lap 19 at the end of this one. I would have thought the safety car would come in, but it might not actually. It might wait for Friss through. I have no idea what the game's going to do here. Okay, it's in this lap, so it hasn't waited. It hasn't even waited for MCL. That's very harsh on the Alpine driver, who's already having a torrid time out there. And yeah, this is just salt into the wounds for him, I have to say. He might still be able to catch up before before Heine decides to punch it, but it is the man who started in 19th place who's going to get us going from the lead of the race on lap 18, and the championship leader down in P11 has an awful lot of work to do. Heine comes round the final corner and gets us going once again. Hellfire loses out by a few tenths there, and he could be under pressure from Mr. Chris into turn one. No, not close enough. Deadshot into the pits and gets a 5-second penalty as well. Straight away, he will not be pleased with that. TNK comes around turn one as well. Perfectly fine. I thought he'd spun off there from the camera angle, but no, he's fine. Steph already a second behind, and Melvin already making progress. He's up to P8, 3 places in 2 corners from the championship leader. He is flying. He's on a mission at the moment to get himself back into the lead of this race, but he's got so much work to do from where he is. Here comes Mr. Chris now on Hellfire. He knows it's now or never. He has to clear this AlphaTauri. He can't get stuck behind because he'll lose track of Heine up ahead. They're going to be side by side going down into this left-hander, but Hellfire's going to have the inside line for the next corner, and Mr. Chris, I think, may have judged this wrong unless he can stick it out, which he has done, and Hellfire has to back out. Great driving from Mr. Chris and Hellfire there. It's no contact, but great racing, and TNK's got to be next up to make the move on that AlphaTauri. Steph way behind already on those hard tyres, so I think it's all about these top 4. Hellfire is doing so well in that AlphaTauri. Melvin already up to P7, TNK already up to P3 as he sends it to the inside of the Japanese driver. And is he going to make that move? Hellfire sticks his car in. They're still side by side down towards turn one. Brilliant racing between the two, but the straight line speed is too much for Hellfire, and TNK up to P3. Melvin setting the fastest lap despite overtaking 4 drivers that lap. And, well, he is an angry championship leader, an angry champion on the warpath from P7 to try and win this race. After it looked like he had it in the bag, he was 5.5, 6 seconds clear of his main rivals behind him. But the safety car has really forced him to make a decision, and he chose to go with the fresh mediums, but it's given himself an awful lot of work, and he's got to get past the Haas of Bundy now, who's flying very high in P6, doing a fantastic job. So if he can keep it there, it would be some brilliant points for the Haas team. But Melvin's going to send it to the inside and make the move fairly easily, as you might expect. Now a 1 second gap to Steph, which will close very, very fast, and then 3 seconds to Hellfire ahead and those top 4, and he's got plenty of time to catch up. But Mr. Chris on the attack behind Heine here. TNK is out of the 1 second range. He's got to work hard to get back in, because DRS is going to be enabled at the end of this lap. Already Melvin is going to go down the inside of the Ferrari and get up to P5, and he continues to chase over after those front 4. But 3.5 seconds now to catch them, but he is in the clean air as Mr. Chris now sets the fastest lap from P2. Is right behind this Red Bull of Heine. He's looking for this race win. He knows that Melvin is charging up the field, so he can't afford to sit back on his laurels and wait for to overtake Heine on the last lap here. He's got to do it now. He's got to try his best to build a gap if he thinks he's faster than the Red Bull. But I'll tell you who is not faster than this man right here, who's got 1 lap fresher tyres, and he's only 2.5 seconds behind Hellfire. He is definitely going to catch up to at least TNK, maybe those top 2 as well. Mr. Chris down the inside, makes the move, and now leads the Miami Grand Prix for the first time today. And Deadshot has retired from the session, and that's another safety car, and that's a lifeline for Melvin. He now has a lot less work to do. He doesn't have to catch back up. Oh no, it is a full safety car. Yeah, it said virtual, but I thought I saw the yellow dot on the screen, and yeah, indeed. So Melvin is going to catch right back up. Giuseppe Elsack gets a drive-through penalty, and yeah, the Mercedes driver is going to drop right to the back after the safety car disaster for him. Fristfruit very happy that Deadshot is out of this race. I don't think your sentiment will not will be uncommon, put it that way. Mr. Chris, though, has gone for the gamble. He's going to go for the soft tyres to the end of this race, but he's going to drop so many positions. He's seen what Melvin was able to do, and he thinks he can replicate it, but it's so much work to do with so few laps to go. Giuseppe Elsack coming around the last corner now, I think. Yeah, Mr. Chris just ahead, so P10 it's going to be for Mr. Chris, but so much to do on those soft tyres. He's going to have so much better grip than everyone else, but can he convert it into a win here? I think the outlook for that may be doubtful, but who knows? Highness continues to lead this race. TNK now in P2. Hellfire still on the podium for now, but he's got the defending champ right behind him. Deadshot, top 3% Miami, and he'll send you a screenshot every race to let you know. Oh dear. I mean, I think the likes of Heine, Hellfire, no, Hellfire, Melvin, and Mr. Chris are going to be the guys who are in the top 1% on every track. At a guess, I think those three, if they were all in the same car, we'd have an incredible championship. But unfortunately, each team only has 2 cars. Who knows indeed. Hello, Harris, in the chat. If you want to laugh, Harris, check out what Fristfruit is doing right now. He is still in the clouds, still spinning around at the bottom of the screen there. In the bottom right, you see his arrow playing You Spin Me Right Round in the cockpit at the moment. He's having a lovely time in the sky. But yeah, Heine still leads this race. Is it going to wait for MF Boom to get back in? Yeah, Harris enjoyed that. It is a very funny bug. But yeah, he's got 26 seconds to catch up. He should be able to catch up, I think. Steph somehow getting past Melvin. I don't know if that will cause a glitch as well. Wonder how he'll be classified at the end. Well, he wouldn't have done 90%, so I think the game would just... It would say plus however many laps, but he definitely wouldn't be classified if the game used the 90% rule. I think the only reason the game would say DNF next to your name is if you actually crashed and you didn't finish 90%. But since Friss hasn't crashed, technically, I think it will still... classify him as however many laps down. When the fresh hell is that bug? It's been in the game for quite a while, or this series of games. I'm pretty sure I've seen that bug dating all the way back to like F1 2012. I'm sure I've seen people fly in the air on F1 2012 back in those days as well. The days of good old Into the Barrier videos. Those were the peak days of Formula One YouTube, or Formula One game YouTube, I should say. safety car in this lap. So we will get 6 laps of green flag racing at the end, assuming we don't get another safety car, which, considering how this race has gone so far, I wouldn't be surprised. MCL's day just cannot get any worse, surely. A 5-second penalty for a collision under the safety car as well. 5 drivers out and Frisfruit has points. I don't think the admins would see it that way, but Heine is going to get us going here. Yeah, he's gone at the same place that he went last time, and his teammate went at the last safety car before as well. Just out the last hairpin, as Mr. Chris already making progress even before the start-finish line. I'm not sure how the admins will see that one, but Melvin up to P3 in the meantime, getting past Hellfire already. My dogs come to spectate. That's how exciting this is. Mr. Chris now gets a 3-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags, as you'd expect, really, from the game. The game actually doing its job there, but who knows? There may have been a spin, so we won't say that's a legit penalty yet. But he's up to P8 now already, getting past the Ferrari of Barcia. Those soft tyres are going to be so fast on that Alpine in these last 6 laps. But he's got to make so much progress up the field and then make the overtakes to boot. I will, Harris. Heine still leading this race, though, from TNK, from his teammate Melvin. Mr. Chris now up to P7 as Ricciardo spins and takes Barcia with him and spins again as he tries to get himself back on the track. Is there damage to the Ferrari? I can't quite tell, but Mr. Chris already up to P6 makes another move in the slow section. Gets a bit of oversteer on the exit, but that's how strong those soft tyres are right now. As Flop is hemorrhaging positions further back. Is there damage to the Ferrari? I think there was. I think there's no front left end play on the Ferrari. Heine, though, getting passed by TNK at the front. The Mercedes driver leads the Miami Grand Prix for the first time today. But he's got 2 charging bulls behind him, and Heine going to send it to the inside. Ricciardo retires in the hairpin. Is that going to cause another safety car? No, it's not. The game's decided that enough is enough. Ricciardo all the way off there. I don't know how he's managed that. He's left the session. I think he might have just accelerated straight into the wall. Out of frustration, perhaps. But TNK leading from the 2 Red Bulls. Who's going to win this race? Is it going to be TNK, Heine, Melvin, or maybe even Mr. Chris? He is charging through 2.6 seconds to Hellfire, and that gap is going to come down very quickly. Hugo as well in the Williams, who also went onto the softs. He's up to P8 in the meantime and is going to charge his way past this Ferrari, surely, very soon. Heine is going side by side with TNK and Melvin as well. The 2 Red Bulls going wheel to wheel through sector 2, but Melvin gets his way through, and now TNK is very vulnerable indeed. If there's anyone on this grid that you don't want right behind you for a race win at the moment, it is this man, Melvin, the defending champion, the championship leader by 20 points, and he's going to go down the inside of TNK. Doesn't even need the DRS, it's not enabled yet, but he's going to make the move at the apex, and there's nothing that TNK can do about it. Mr. Chris is rapidly catching, but in fact not that rapidly. Hellfire is still very quick in that AlphaTauri, and Mr. Chris only gaining about half a second in that half a lap. But I'm sure that gap is still going to come down very quickly. 4 laps to go in this race. Can TNK keep up with Melvin, who's got 1 lap fresher medium tyres? I seriously doubt it. I really do. It's nothing against TNK, but that driver-car combo is just unstoppable, even when he makes a comparatively perhaps poor strategy decision. We don't know how it would have turned out in the end if it hadn't been for the second safety car, but it did look like he was in trouble there, Melvin. And TNK just not able to keep up now once Melvin has gotten his way past. 6.5 tenths, but it's only going to go up in this slow section. Heine struggling to stay with the Mercedes in the meantime. He had so much pace in the first stint, but at the end of this race seems to have lost it all. Mr. Chris now nearly in DRS range of Hellfire. The detection point is right about here, and he is in that 1 second range. You're going to see that rear wing flap open up just about now. And there it is. And he's going to gain a whole host of time down the straight on this AlphaTauri, half a second in it now, and he should be able to make this move, perhaps even into turn one with the grip he's got on those softs, although maybe not, because Hellfire got an incredible drive out that corner considering he's in an AlphaTauri. We've got more overtakes happening further back. Hugo getting past Bumdy, but Bumdy not done yet. He is having a brilliant race in the Haas, P6 right now and holding on. Hugo's got a track limits penalty as well. I'm not sure actually what penalty that is, but he's going to send it round the outside of turn one. It's the inside for two, and he makes it work. Brilliant move from the Williams driver on those soft tyres, but Bumdy is going to try and stay with him, but that was, I think, a naive move to make, and he's compromised his own line and lost about 6/10 as a result. TNK just about staying in DRS of Melvin for now, but how long is that going to last? He's doing a great job, to be fair. 2.5 seconds now separate him and Heine. Mr. Chris now getting into the top four, getting past Hellfire into the most common overtaking spot on the track. And now he's going to chase after Heine. Is that penalty legitimate? Who knows? He got it for ignoring yellow flags at the end of the safety car, overtook before the start-finish line. So we'll see if that's actually a legit penalty, and if Heine can keep his podium streak going. But Hellfire's not done yet. Look at this with the DRS. He's going to send it to the inside of Mr. Chris, but not going to be able to make that move. But the Alpine goes deep, but Hellfire gets a snap on the exit, and that's going to be game over for him, I think, without any ERS to speak of either. But Mr. Chris's tyres are going to start falling away from him now. I think he's out of contention for the race win. 2 laps to go. TNK still sticking with Melvin. This is hugely impressive from the Mercedes driver, I've got to say. I thought Melvin would just be gone, but the Portuguese is really keeping up, staying in the DRS, giving himself a chance if Melvin makes a rare error here in these last couple of laps. And now Heine's got to defend from Mr. Chris. He can't assume that that penalty is going to stay after the race. If he wants to have continue his 4 podium streak, he's been on the podium every race this season so far. He's looking to make it 5 in a row. Mr. Chris, though, getting a bit of a snap on the exit of that corner. He's got 1.5 more laps to make this move to get himself onto the podium on track. And look at this, he's gained a whole host of time in the slow section, but loses it on the exit a little bit, but not too much. But TNK's right behind Melvin. He's not letting this go for the race lead round the outside of the Red Bull. This is fantastic stuff from TNK. He retakes the lead with 1 lap to go in the Miami Grand Prix. We're going to go on to the final lap with these 2 drivers within a few tenths of each other. Who's going to take the race win? TNK's got no ERS left though, and Melvin's still got most of his battery. So it's advantage to the defending champ, but it's all about whether he can get through here without making another mistake and just breeze by him with the DRS. He doesn't have to panic here. He can see the flashing red light on the back of the Mercedes indicating that it's going to be vulnerable on the straights. Mr. Chris is going to try and make this move on Heine as well on this final lap. We've got 2 battles, 1 for the win, 1 for the last spot on the podium. Everyone else is too spread apart. But here comes Melvin, and I think TNK's chances of this race win are slipping away in this final lap. Melvin retakes the lead down in the DRS zone. TNK with nothing left to defend with. And Melvin retakes it. The only spot left is the DRS zone down towards the hairpin, but it's going to be a huge struggle for TNK with no ERS in the tank. Melvin's still got plenty left to defend with. You can see from the steering wheel that Mr. Chris as well, right behind Heine for P3. They've both got minimal ERS, but Mr. Chris has got the DRS. Can TNK make the move into the hairpin? He's too far behind, so we'll focus on P3 battle. Mr. Chris down the inside, and he's going to make the move for the podium place. But Heine sends it into the hairpin. He's going to go down the inside. There's a bit of contact, but he can't keep it clean. Melvin, in the meantime, wins the Miami Grand Prix by 7/10 from TNK. Mr. Chris finishes P3 on track. It's going to be P5 after his penalty is applied, but we'll see if that gets removed in the stew. stewards later on in the coming days. Hugo finishes a fantastic P6 on track. What's it going to be after the penalty? It's P6 as well after the penalty. And Bumdy in the Haas finishes in 7th. Really impressive performance from him as well. Barcia in P8 in the Ferrari, salvaging a few points. Gyro in the other AlphaTauri makes it a double points finish for the team. Great drive from him. MCL, after seemingly everything possible went wrong today, still manages to get a point out of this race, which I don't think is too shabby at all. Steph, Jusser Pelsac, MF Boom and Flop will be the last of the finishers. Looks like Frisk Fruit finally got DNF'd from the session, even though his dot is still there in the bottom right, I saw. And that concludes the Grand Prix. What a race here in Miami. I tell you what, this track is often a total incident fest. As a league owner, it is a horrible track because you just dread the arguments and stewards incidents that will occur from it. But as a commentator, it's great to watch. Grand Prix. But it is Melvin who wins the race for Red Bull and takes it from TNK, who will be gutted, but he didn't have enough ERS to compete in the end. Used too much of it to stay with Melvin, I think, and he ends up 7/10 behind in the end. Heine finishes a fantastic 3rd place on the podium, pending a penalty request from Mr. Chris, I'm sure. But what a drive from the very back of the grid on the podium for him. Hellfire, an incredible P4 as well in the AlphaTauri, qualified there and finished there. What a drive. Mr. Chris P5 in the end, could be P3 if he can get that penalty removed. Hugo in 6th for Williams. What a drive from him. And Bumdy as well. Both of them, I think, deserve equal plaudits for 6th and 7th in those cars. Barcia in P8 in the Ferrari. Gyro makes it a double points finish for AlphaTauri, and MCL manages to secure a point for Alpine in the end, despite everything that happened to him today. Steph gets the fastest lap in the Ferrari, but it doesn't matter. It's only P11. He only steals it from whoever else would have had it. Jusser Pelsac, MF Boom, and Flop, the last of the finishers, out of the points, with Ricardo, Deadshot, Hotline Blang, and Jürgen unable to finish the race, and Frisk Fruit, well, still flying high. He's probably reached the moon by now, I would have thought. But there we go. A fantastic race in Miami. I hope you all enjoyed it in the chat as well. My phone has run out of battery, so I can't view all of the comments, but I can just see the new ones that come on the screen. But regardless, driver of the day today. Oh, I mean, you can give it to, I mean, there's so many people it could go to. It could go to Melvin for a dominant race victory that could have been, but ended up being quite a hard-fought race victory in the end. You could give it to TNK for putting on a show at the end and giving Melvin a race in those last few laps. You could give it to Hellfire for finishing P4 in an AlphaTauri. You could give it to Hugo or the Haas driver that I can't remember the name of, so I'm so sorry, who finished in fantastic points paying positions. Or you could give it to Heine for finishing in P3. I mean, there's so many options for driver of the day. But I think 19th to 3rd at a chaotic track like this requires a lot of patience, even when you do have the best car. So I think I will give it to Heine. But a big mention goes to all of the people I talked about just before as well. as a lot of people had some really good performances today. So well done everyone, and thank you all for watching in the comments as well. I agree with Louis that it was a brilliant race. So have a great rest of your week everyone, and I will see you next week for more DLR. Goodbye.